I love board games, and I know, fork found in board game collection, but sometimes trying to get someone else to play a board game with you is like force-feeding them an urchin. This game is different though. This game is like a smooth chocolate mousse. It's inviting, it's easy, and all I need to do is place it on the table and people will gather around. Ooh, they'll say, who's that weird little fish freak there? And why is he in a cardboard prison? And I'll say, his name is Dangle and multiple felonies. And soon I'll be wowing them with a board that rolls out of the box and some beautifully modeled figures of 4 poor souls trapped in mascot suits 3 times the width of their body, which I might place on their starting positions. Oh, you want to know how the mascots race? Well, I'm glad you asked, and now I'm drawing through the deck and everyone's watching and laughing as the mascots run across the track and run into each other and fall over and turn around and run off the track. And as I'm doing this, I'm mentioning that we're gambling on these mascots and that we're going to have a hand at changing exactly what cards go into this deck. And everyone's like, wow, Tim, you're the best at board game reviews. I'm going to subscribe to your channel immediately. It's time to go to the tech zone. No, you're not. You're later.
Oh, later?
No, yeah, you're not now.
Not now?
We gotta go to the next.
No,
We gotta-
no, yeah. Okay, yeah, I can do
Oh,
that.
you're good. Yeah. Sorry. No, you're good. Oops, I have accidentally taught them all of the rules. The race itself is the most complex part of the game, and not only can this easily be taught with an example race, but it also doesn't need to be fully understood by all players for the game to be played. This is the thing, teaching the game slips past you like a hot dog on a slip and slide so you can get to the fun parts quicker, but it also makes players enthusiastic about the game. I mean, you've got to be a certain type of person to not be excited by a board that rolls out of the box, some silly looking mascots, and a card that simply instructs the mascot to fall down. And trust me, this is as good as it sounds.
Place your bets. Dangle, Hurley, Mum, Gobbler. Race.
So, we're going to burn the top 3 cards of the deck. We always do this at the start of every shuffle, and then we're going to go through the deck. 2, then swerve left. Dangle's going to move 3, immediately knocking Mum over because he passed through her space. Everyone's going to move 3, and when everyone moves, there is no finishing and no colliding for any of the mascots. But Mum's on the floor, so she can't move 3, she just moves the 1, crawling along. Then Hurley's going to move back 2 spaces. Seems unproductive. Mum is going to fall down. Now, because she's already fallen down, quite morbidly, she just gets disqualified and is placed on the lowest spot on the plinth. Then, Dangle is moving to the next star, rocketing him ahead to right in front of the finish line. All mascots are going to move back 2 spaces. Dangle's going to turn around, which makes all of his forward movement become backwards movement. But he's going to move back 2, which actually moves him forward 2, almost moonwalking him over the finish line. Hurley is going to turn around, and then Hurley's going to fall down, which really feels like a bad position to be in. Dangle's going to move 1 and then swerve left, and then Hurley is going to recover, standing him up if he's fallen over and turning him around if he's facing the wrong way, and then move 1 space. Then Dangle is going to move 3 spaces and swerve left, swerving him off the track and disqualifying him. Then we shuffle through the deck, but every time we do, we take the end of the track and move it to the next white line. Anyone we cover up in the process is gobbled by the track and gets disqualified. Now, it doesn't matter if Gobbler gets disqualified or if he reaches the finish line. Either way, there's only 1 space he can go, and that's first. He's won by doing absolutely nothing. Welcome to Hot Streak. So, just to recap, need to fall down while already fallen down? Disqualified. Run over by another mascot while already down? Disqualified. Swallowed by the track? Disqualified. Run off the track? They run into the woods, never to be seen again. Disqualified. There are a lot of ways for mascots to mess up in any given game of Hot Streak, but that's not all they'll be doing. Well, it may be. It depends on what's in the race deck for that game. The race deck always consists of 1 of each, recover then 2 for every mascot. But then beyond that, just a random assortment of cards are added to the deck. And at the start of every game, everyone's going to be able to look at that deck and see what's in there, see who they think may be winning here. Gobbler is looking absolutely terrible with just a fall down and a turnaround, and Dangle is going to be powering forward the whole time. But there's one little twist here that makes things interesting. Everyone's going to get a hand of 3 cards, and once that's done, the rest of the cards can just return back to the box. They're not going to be used for the remainder of the game. And you're going to choose one of these cards from your hand to secretly slide into the deck just before the race starts. Maybe I put in Dangle's turn around, because everyone's bet on Dangle, and I know that they can not get any money if I do this. And maybe I've put a bet on a safe bet, which is maybe Hurley, and maybe he comes second, and I get a little bit of cash. But that is not it. At the end of every round of Hot Streak, the deck is going to be shuffled and one card dealt back to every player. And maybe I get dealt Mum's -2 card, and I look at my hand and I go, well, why don't I chuck in Mum's move 3 card? And now, things are looking up for Mum, and with me having Dangle thwarted, I might bet all in on Mum, and everyone's gonna go, why are you doing that? Are you crazy? And then I get a stack of cash, and no one else gets anything. That's right, gambling. Although it's not really gambling, because it's rare you actually lose any money. You're going to be taking 2 of these tickets, snake draft style, so maybe I pick one, and then someone else picks one, and the last player picks one. Then they get to pick again, then they pick, then I pick. So I get first and last choice. And these stacks get worse as they go down, but maybe I take the Dangle one, and that means that I get 10 money if Dangle comes first, and you can see the rest. But I can also bet it risky if I would like when I take it, which means Dangle will give me more for coming first, but less for coming second or third, and nothing for fourth either way. That's not all you're betting on though. You can bet on a specific side situation, a side bet, yes or no. You can also do that risky, and that is how you're going to lose money. It's -5 if you're wrong. I'm sure you're beginning to see the game take shape.
You still going with this bullshit?
Oh, I'm still talking about the board game.
I don't have all day.
That's what the video is about.
Well, don't worry about it.
I'm sure you're beginning to see the game take shape here. Get inside intel, place your bets, skew the odds, and watch the money roll in. And one thing you can bet on is that your friends are going to be hooting like a group of giddy owls when Dangle barrels down the track and stops just before the finish line, only to turn around and go halfway back. And Mum hasn't even moved yet. It is so much fun to watch the mascots fail at something that John Running laid the groundworks for in 1823. They're going to be running off the track, running into each other, running like someone wearing a hot dog costume. Oh, I love this system so much. I love it so much it hurts, because some of the stuff around this system just doesn't quite click as well as I'd like it to. Don't get me wrong, the production is incredible. These guys are lovely, using the top of the box as a plinth is genius, and the paper money feels good in my hands, which is, I didn't know it could do that. But, there are maybe some reasons why this game is not for you. It will depend. Let me get into it. In certain situations, this game rips, especially at higher player counts when you can kind of just turn your brain off and go. But sometimes I want a little bit of strategy, and the game kind of dangles strategy in front of you as if you can have it, but never really lets you get there. Sometimes you'll just be dealt a card that's inherently uninteresting. Okay, the one then swerve right of the mascot that came third is no longer in the deck. Great. And I have a everybody move card, or a Dangle move 2, and Dangle came last the round before, so I don't think betting on him is going to be viable either way. I guess I'll chuck it in. And it doesn't really change much, and that's kind of that. And this, I think, brings me to the core issue I have with the game, which is the main strategical decisions are going to be you betting on mascots. I want to be able to influence the race a little more than I currently can, and that frustrates me a bit.
We have that, but cooler in the tech zone because it's digital.
You have your have you read the script? You have your time in the script?
Okay, I'm pulling it up. It says I'm supposed to interrupt right now.
Yeah. No, that's true.
So, job done.
Shit. which is fine when I just feel like yelling at mascots, but sometimes I get a little frustrated with the lack of control. This deck is pretty random, and even running the same deck multiple times can produce wildly different results. They'll still be skewed to the mascot with the best cards, but only slightly, which is great on one hand when the underdog wins despite all odds, but it's not so great when you put in a good card for the mascot that came second last round, and it comes fourth, not because your opponents did anything to thwart you, but just because of happenstance. It's kind of an unsolvable dichotomy. If you can laugh at your own misfortune, I think you'll still have a great time though. For me, Hotstreak is a sort of godsend. I help run a weekly games meetup in a semi-public place, and it is so easy to get people who have barely touched board games to play this game. If you have people in your life who you want to play board games with, but you just find it hard to actually get them to, this might be the way that you do it. And they're probably not going to care about the lack of in-depth decision making. They're probably going to have a fun time yelling at mascots, and I think that is most of what's important here. I keep reiterating that this game is enjoyable, one because I've never done a review where I'm this critical of a game and it's weird, and two because I do really like this system. This racing system is so fun. I love auto battlers, and I think gambling on an auto battler, or I suppose auto racer, is a really neat idea. I just wish that the results were a little more predictable and we had either more control or less control and more knowledge. But I do like the unpredictability of the outcomes, so I don't know. Too many caveats. I can't do this. Bring the tech zone guy in. Did someone say caveat? Who the fuck are you? Didn't expect that. We're here! I cannot believe I made it. I got a haircut for this and everything. Not a real one, a digital one, of course. This is just a hologram. I'm bald. Anyway, this is a very weird section of the video where I used advanced biotech, my noggin, to create a ROM hack for this game, an expansion, that I think will really blow the voxels off of your hard drive. Let's get into it. Alright, so... Oh, sorry, just give me a sec. Here it is! I'm super proud of it. And look at the lovely art done by my partner. It is absolutely beautiful. Really ties the whole thing together. They told me that any resemblance to real-life persons, living or dead, is purely coincidental. It fixes most of my main problems with the game while adding an element I find super fun. It's not without its flaws, though, but I have shown it to some people who didn't like Hotstreak originally, who asked to play again after playing with my expansion, which is kind of crazy. But, how does it work? Oh, that's my cue. I made the game. Right, Okay, this is Hotstreak under construction. And I am going to switch my glasses on camera as to not ruin the continuity. So, the health inspector's home sick. The workmen at a nearby building site have just left a whole bunch of junk lying around, and you've got an itch that only the unopened toolkit your dad got you for your birthday can scratch. After betting finishes, but before anyone puts a card in the deck, everyone is going to select one scheme card out of 3 from their hand. You know, like a building scheme, like a schematic. Nothing else. Everyone simultaneously reveals these and takes the pictured pieces, but you'll notice the cards are split in 2 halves. One half's pieces will sit to your left and the other to your right. These piles are added onto by the scheme cards the players to your left and right choose to play as well. So you'll end up with a whole bunch of piles in between each pair of players. Then, starting with the first player and going in order, every pair of players is going to place the pieces in that pile. These pieces go on the track, but both players must agree on these pieces' placement, unless either player declares that a piece causes infinite quarrels, in which it just returns to the supply. After everyone has done placing, continue the round as normal, except now there's a whole bunch of stuff on the board, and at the end of the race you're going to clear the board and start afresh the next round. I'm not going to go exactly into detail about what each piece does, but I will highlight a few. If you want the full scoop, there are links to download the rules and the PDF to print this yourself in the description. Ice is going to slip and slide a mascot in the direction it was already going. Multiple of these can chain, and sometimes that'll give a mascot a nice speed boost, or slide them right off the track. Panic buttons make the board fold up to the next white line whenever they're stepped on, just like when you reshuffle the deck. They can't be placed on the starting stretch though, that's what the confetti means. Conveyor belts pause a mascot's movement to shunt them in a certain direction. These can chain with other things, leading to some very funny consequences. Participation ribbons award $5 to anyone who's bet on the mascot that first passes through this. It then gets removed from the board after they do. So what does this all achieve? Well, it's weird. It creates a whole bunch of interesting stories on the board. Maybe one round, all of the mascots are funneled down the same terrible, terrible lane. Or another round, a mascot just keeps hitting the panic button. Or the mascots just keep running into each other. But it also adds a little bit more of a social element to the game. You're much more worried about what the players to the left and right of you are betting on, because if you have nothing in common with them, it's going to be quite hard to come to an agreement on those pieces you've got to place together. And it also adds more negotiation, where maybe I can place this piece wherever I want, if you can place that piece wherever you want. But mainly it solves my agency issue. You, as a player, have agency over 2 piles of objects to either side of you, usually about 6 objects. That doesn't mean 6 objects per player go on the board, because you're sharing them with the people next to you, so the board doesn't get way too cluttered, but you do still feel ownership over those 6 objects. And when the mascots use them in the race, whether it's in a way you intended or not, it feels great, because it feels like you had a direct effect on the race, and that's what I was missing. It still upholds that spectatorship and the anything could happen vibe of the game, while letting you have a little bit of control over the race in a very fun way. And I think this is the expansion's greatest strength.
This doesn't come without its flaws, though. Firstly, it adds a little more rules overhead, and I certainly wouldn't recommend this as anyone's first game. I also tried to write the rules in a way that doesn't create conflicts, but almost every game I play, I'm surprised by a new combo of items. And this is fine sometimes, but it can take a moment to work out what goes on at best, or pause the game as you try to figure it out. Usually when this happens, we do just go with the funniest option though. And then of course it does make the game take a little longer. Not that this game takes long to begin with, but it certainly does add to the time.
This is a super weird way to end a review, if you can even call it that at this point. I recognize that. I think it's fun when people change rules to games they like a lot, or add things. I think it's great, and this has been a lot of fun to work on, but also as a video took way too long because of, all this. I actually had a previous iteration that involved granting blessings or curses to mascots that you bet on, and added a way to make anti-bets on mascots, so you're incentivized to put curses on those ones. It was just way too many rules, interactions to handle, and just like in the base game when you insert a card and it doesn't really do anything, it felt bad when you added a blessing or a curse to a mascot and it just didn't trigger for the race. And then this one went through a few different iterations as well. Thanks so much to my friends for putting up with 2,000 games of Hot Streak, and also to CMYK and Jon Perry for sending me this review copy. I am so sorry about what I've done to your boy. Let me know if you enjoyed this weird video in the feedback form in the description, or just by liking and subscribing and the usual stuff. Thank you so much for watching. You can catch me on my Discord or on Blue Sky, and until I make my next weird video, have a good one.